Yeah, about 2 years ago, the New Economics Foundation in the UK made a decision that whilst we had some fantastic teams doing work on social policy, finance and business, the environment, well-being, valuing what matters, each of them would run their own campaigns, do their own work, but in actual fact, the challenge that we all faced, as this conference is making very clear, was about systemic change that required all of these things to be able to work in concert, to be able to be seen as part of a much bigger challenge. And so in actual fact, we set up what we referred to as the Great Transition, which was sort of an overarching narrative that would allow us to try and make the whole greater than the sum of the parts of our work.
Closer to it.
And we set forth and we had four main things that we were going to try and achieve. And the first thing was an internal thing for us, which was to get all our teams to actually operate like that, to realise that their work was actually part of something greater, that we needed to communicate to broader audiences than we currently did. So outside of the 500 people who would turn up to this conference, and to be able to communicate it and engage and empower people around that idea. And we're well on the way to being able to do that. And when Stuart gave his presentation yesterday and he referred to 6 things that we thought are required to get that transition going, they're part of an internal process where those teams have actually worked together rather than being in their silos, working separately. But then we had 3 main things we wanted to do externally to deliver the Great Transition. The first of which, and 2 of them have been continual themes in this conference so far. The first of which was to try and build a movement, and to build a movement that was beyond just our own constituencies to start with, and actually move out further to warmer audiences, to get people to be engaged with and to take action around a movement for change for a new economy. And we've done quite a lot of different things to be able to take that forward. The second thing, which is connected to that, was actually to run some campaigns. Movements tend to die if people aren't actually doing small steps that are achieving things that they know are the first step on the way to making larger change. And so to run particular campaigns, the one that we've spent a lot of time on in the UK was around banking reform and setting up the firewall between investment banking and high street banking. And the last thing that we did, which is quite separate but is externally facing, was that, and it's interesting in actual fact, in the last presentation when, I'm sorry, I've forgotten her Michelle, was mentioning her macroeconomics lecturer, is that we decided that if people have read Tim Jackson's book, Prosperity Without Growth, which ends by saying we need a new macroeconomics. We need to look at the assumptions that are made in current macroeconomics and change them, develop them in a way that is fit for purpose for the new economy. And one of the things that happens in terms of macroeconomics is that it's very, very dominated by a particular school of thought and models that are developed on a set of assumptions that most people in this room will know what those assumptions are and how ridiculous some of them are in comparison with where we need to get to. And so we set about creating a model that would actually be able to usefully be able to build scenarios of what a new economy might be able to look like. And one of the things that we were doing, which was most important to us, was to say that unlike all conventional models, which assume that the finance sector is outside of the economy, it's not normally inside of the model, it's just assumed that it will benignly provide a steady flow of money as the economy requires it, and will have no adverse effect. It's just sat there as a sort of benign supplier. As we've seen, that is not how the real world operates or where we are at the moment. And so we actually wanted to put it inside of the model to be able to change how we looked at it. And we've got to a point where we're actually being able to take that out now and discuss it with people and go to audiences who are very interested in it, whether that's the Bank of England, whether that's the investment community, or whether it's the UK government.